Welcome to another Founder Wisdom podcast. We have Olivier Tonneau with us today. Olivier is a Kaufman Fellow. He's also the founder and partner at Quantonation. It's an investment fund dedicated to quantum technology. So, Olivier, welcome to the pod. Tell us a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Sure. Hi, Charles. So, Olivier, partner and founder at Quantonation. So my background is in business. I graduated from business school in Paris, then worked into management consultant for 10 years. Worked for a French entrepreneur, very well known, Charles Becbédé, and invested his money into early stage companies for 10 years before we started to look at quantum technologies and decided to set up a fund because when we started to look at that, it was 2018 and there was no fund dedicated to that investment thesis yet. So we started that with my co-founder Christophe, who is a quantum physicist. Did his PhD with 2022 Nobel Prize in Physics, Alain Aspect. And so we did first investment end of 2018. Now, a few years later, we are managing 250 millions. We've invested in 35 companies worldwide. And we are a team of 10 people. So I guess with regards to the theme of your podcast, I both have my CEO wisdom for Quantonation, but also because we interact with every day with CEOs, a nice view on the difficulties and the challenges and successes of all our portfolio company CEO.
Right. And will quantum pay out? And if so, like on what term? Short term, medium term, long term? Because we've been talking about quantum for what now, like 25 years or plus, and trying to commercialize it. So what's your ROI projections in all these investments that you made?
Yeah, sure. So quantum has been, forever 5 years from being live on the market, but now it's getting through, and actually probably less than 5 years. Just to give you a few figures, since we've started, we've looked at over 700 companies worldwide. So it's not just labs, but it's now startups and also end users, clients. There are about 100 machines that are deployed on the ground, so 100 quantum computers already working. Google has made the proof that we can use them for doing some computation that classical computer cannot make. Now, the next step will be to make sure that we can use those machines for something that's relevant for industries. And there are good candidates for that, either in chemistry or drug discovery or financial organization. This is coming, the moment a quantum computer will do better than their classical counterpart is coming in the next 12 to 18 months. It is already a market that's over $1 billion in sales, in proof of concepts, and so on. That's for the computing part, but there's also the quantum communications part, because as we are getting nearer to the threat of having our encryption broken by or decrypted by a quantum computer, we will also need to protect, and quantum can also help do that. And quantum communication is almost $1 billion market, so already some business there. And the third part of quantum technology is quantum sensing. A bit of a smaller market, but already working, already companies in revenues and some products that are even a bit more mature than in computing and communication. Now, what we promise our investors is times 3 on their investment, but bear in mind we're a 10 years fund, so that means on average we are we are targeting an ROI that's above 20%.
Very interesting. And if I understand well, the first corporations to buy these quantum computers, what would that be? Would that be Microsoft and Google? Is there like a clear economic advantage for them using quantum computers via older technologies?
Not yet. We are still pretty much in a prototype or proof of concept mode where people are exploring, trying to use the machine to see where it will get them. Now, the point where will be more useful than a classical computer is probably in 12 to 18 months. The prime candidates, of course, there will be the companies that are selling runtime on the machine, and typically Azure or AWS will probably be the good brokers for the computing time on the machines. There will also be some machine sales on premise, and I mean, same. Google is developing its own quantum computer. IBM is doing the same, and then there are some startups worldwide, probably close to 100 companies trying to build a quantum computer as well. But yeah, I think some ROI, economies of scale, some problems that you will be able to solve that you cannot solve today for an end user. Yeah, something starting in the next couple of years.
Interesting. And can you explain the quantum technology in a chip in itself? It's like a normal chip has zeros and ones, and quantum has zeros and ones. Is that it?
Yeah, the idea is that there is a specific state of the matter when we are working at the elementary particle level, so typically photons, atoms, ions, or electrons, which is when it's in a quantum state, it can be in several states simultaneously. So it's not 0 or 1, but it can be a probability of all the states between 0 and 1. And this enables to have exponential computation power, and that's where that's where the revolution will come, because you'll be able to compute a lot more solutions, to do a lot more scenarios than with your classical computer.
And do you feel that will sort of have AI explode? Is AI progress and let's say ChatGPT getting smarter, let's say to ChatGPT 6 or 7, is it a matter of being limited by GPU? Do you think that will unlock new capabilities? And if so, like how drastic would that be? Or would that be like a slower progress like we've been experiencing as of late?
Well, I think both technologies are really complementary. So typically, our quantum companies, they use AI, of course, to progress and to make better chips or better controls of the qubits. Now, the other way is starting to happen as well. So typically, we have one portfolio company that's using quantum-inspired technology in order to compress AI model and to reduce by at least 50% the energy consumption that's required to train a large language model. So there are already some interaction. Now, in the long run, we hope that we will be able to power some of the computation with a quantum computer that's a bit more frugal in terms of energy consumption. That's not the case yet because the machines are not powerful or reliable enough. But I mean, that's the end game for sure.
And do you think the quantum word will be dropped like the AI word nowadays, since ChatGPT came about, like every single company is an AI company? Do you think once quantum explode, like everyone will become a quantum company, a quantum powered company?
I think there's been one first good test and good lesson was last December when Google announced a very nice experiment that they did with their chip, where they managed to solve a theoretical problem using error correction on chip and at scale. And just following that announcement, I think all the listed companies in quantum, their stock went through the sky. So I think that shows that investors have an interest for the sector and they are ready to jump in when the ChatGPT moment will come to quantum. Now, you should not be mistaken. There will not be one single ChatGPT moment for quantum. It will be incremental progress, and at some point we will reach the stage where it becomes industrial. What Google did was great, but it's just a step on the way. It's not the end game yet.
Interesting. And as a guy that has been in quantum for that long, has that changed your worldview? Do you think we're in a simulation? Quantum is like so weird, right? Like you observe something and then it automatically changes. Like how has that changed your worldview?
I think it's strange. So we are spending all our day looking at things that are invisible, basically. So it's quite amazing to think that a thing like an atom or an ion or a photon can be used to do some computation. And it's quite amazing also that we already have the technology in order to manipulate these particles independently. So typically, we have a company in the portfolio, Pascal, and they are building a computer based on neutral atoms. So that means you are having atoms that are in optical tweezers, which is a trap for them, and you are able to put them in a trap more than 1,000 atoms, each one by one. So that means being able to control that many atoms just one by one. I think it's just incredible to realize that we are able to achieve that. But then using that in order to perform quantum computation, I think it's just, and I think it's even beyond what our mind can conceive. So quite interesting.
Right. And for example, your investment thesis, right? Because granted that the world is quantic, pretty much everything is chaotic and nothing can be predicted. But I think it's very much the other way around. Like Einstein also thought that, yeah, you could pretty much predict everything. It seems that we can predict a good majority of things. For example, your investment decisions, right? Let's say you have what, 80, 90% control over them, or a high degree of decisiveness or accuracy in which you're going to be successful or not, for example. Um, is that how you view the world, or do you still view it as very chaotic and very luck based rather than controllable and predictable?
I think so. What we promise our investor is that we will apply a very thorough process. Now, this process can fail for any number of reasons in the end, or it can succeed for any reason we did not anticipate. I think we have to do the job right. Now, the outcome can be sometimes very surprising in this business.
How hard is it to launch a quantum company? Like if I decide to launch a quantum, and well, first I need hardware, right? Like I need to acquire the quantum chip. Like how much can that cost me, and how technical is it to get off the ground?
Yeah, so on all the companies that we've looked at, about probably 98% of them, they come out of university labs. And they come from 20 years, 30 years of research in the largest and most renowned labs in the world. So there are, of course, some barriers to entry. Yeah, thanks for showing the portfolio. There are, of course, some barriers to entry. You need some quantum physicists, PhDs, you need material. So you would not, I mean, it's not a startup. You would start in your garage and by coding on your laptop for sure. So now, if you are a software company, of course, it's a bit less expensive because you don't have all the material, but still not easy, and you have to get access to the machine. And so, yeah, I think it's not, it's for the coming years. I mean, when we get closer to end user application, when the machines are more, let's say, industrial grade, anyone will be able to start a company in that field. I think for the next probably 5 to 10 years, still pretty much linked to academia.
Right. Is it always two technical co-founders, or is it one technical and one more on the sales side of things?
It's I mean the path our companies are following is typically you have a nice lab setup, a nice experiment, and you spin off, and then you are trying to transform this experiment into a prototype that you can show your clients that people can start using. For that, typically you just need technical people. You need engineers, you need your PhDs. Then once you have that and you go into a more normal development path where you will need some typical corporate functions, so business development, finance, whatever. And at that stage, then you will need a non-physicist, non-technical founder or C-level at least. But for the beginning, I mean, so we have several configurations in the portfolio. We have people starting with one founder in business, one other in tech. We have companies that integrate the business part a bit later. I mean, there's no right or wrong model, I believe, at this stage.
Right. And from what I understood, there's no liquidity event or product market fit until the full quantum technology explodes as a whole? Or are there companies that actually can make money and have like clear short-term applications, and you could even have potential exits with them?
So about this product market fit, I think we are in deep tech. It's probably a bit different than in digital or consumer. there is a huge market. There are a lot of problems that are not solved, that are a huge challenge, and there's a lot of money on that. Now, the difficulty we have is how do we build the machine to solve those problems? As soon as we have the good enough machine, then the product market fit is there. So it's a bit of a different issue. Now, coming back to the second point of your question, is there a market? Are there some companies that can be profitable? It's about, so quantum computing market is a bit above a billion, probably 1.5 billion. So that means companies that are leading this market, they're probably in the tens of millions of revenues, going into the hundreds. Some companies have also developed some applications or technology bricks that are very important for some other large companies. So typically, you have built something that could be of a lot of use for IBM, and so you could be a target for acquisition for them. So there will be, even if it's a long-term business and the development of the product takes time, still there is already a market, and there are already some opportunities for exit because of the difficulty of building what those companies are building. So it makes them attractive to a lot of people.
Not sure if you saw the one of the latest Black Mirror on Netflix, but it was like the lady that was controlling space time with quantum or something like that. Is
Yeah.
is it a misconception that you can control space time with quantum, and wouldn't that be the most powerful thing ever, even over controlling like an AGI?
I think so. We tend to see a lot of quantum now into movies, into so I think it's a bit of the buzz now. What we can, I mean, what we can really do with those tech. I mean, one thing, for example, before controlling things in outer space and whatever, there's already the question of the Q day. So the day where a quantum machine, quantum computer will be able to break current encryption, RSA encryption as we have it today. Probably in, I don't know, 5 to 10 years, nobody knows, but it's already it will already be a significant effort and significant leap from the machines we have today to be able to do that. So, I mean, at some point, yes, we will have a lot of computing resource coming from those machines, and that what we will be able to do, still very much difficult to say.
And that day, I think like the people that will have that into their hands, will they be regulated? Like it's fair to assume there'll be a team of technical students, right? PhDs, like ethical people. I don't think they'll try to break the world with that, but are they like regulated? Is there like a law saying like, yeah, you need to check in with us once that happens?
I think so. If anybody has a machine that's able to break encryption, I think nobody will know. And typically, this can happen in several regions of the globe. Typically, it could happen in China, could happen in the US, and for sure, they would not warn anybody else that this has happened because it's too much of an edge, right?
Yes, I mean, if it happens in China, it's pretty bad, or Russia, we can assume that these guys would use it to mess around, right? Like they have a nice history of just hacking people relentlessly. But so does the CIA, by the way. Like they counter attack quite a lot, right? Or use the counter attack excuse. But would it be an actual government, or would it be one of your funded startups? What would be the most likely scenario?
I think it's probably a bit of both because some states have started some competition in order to get with. So it's a competition between startups so that we can get a machine that's able to do that, and the startups are financed to develop those machines. It's happening in the US. There's a DARPA program for that. It's happening in France. There's a program called Proxima for that. So it's directly contracted to the startups, but from the Ministry of Defense.
Right. And you said that one of your portcos is actually developing something to counter that, like
Yeah, I mean,
quantum actual
well, I mean,
encryption. What would that look like?
so solutions are very well known. So first, you can have some mathematical or algorithmic protection because quantum computer can break RSA because the underlying mathematical problem is factoring prime numbers, and that's something a quantum computer can do. But quantum computers cannot solve all type of problems. So there's a possibility to use algorithm with problems that are not easily solvable by a quantum computer. And that's what the NIST has been doing in the US, trying to set up new standards to replace RSA and finding algorithm that will not be broken by a quantum computer. The second solution is using quantum technologies. So another of these nice properties of the quantum state is called entanglement. So which means you can have some particles that are in a way twins. So typically you would have two photons and they are intertwined, linked, and you send some data over a fiber, and then you send a photon that's entangled with another photon just alongside the data. If the data are intercept, then the photon is as well, and the other one will know right away because it's entangled. And so there's a whole idea of developing quantum networks where you will have physical protection thanks to quantum physics and quantum communications. So
Interesting.
several here, yeah.
And remind us of the encryption technology. Where is that used specifically? In what day to day do we normal consumers use encryption?
Everywhere. It's everywhere. I mean, when you access your phone, that's something that's an underlying protection is RSA. When you access your computer, when you go into a data center, I mean, IoT, anything.
You mean like everywhere we put password, right? Because my phone is facial recognition, my
Yes.
computer is fingerprint.
Yeah.
Could quantum just figure that out, or?
No, I mean it's so your credentials are then translated into RSA encryption problems at some point, and that's what quantum can figure.
Okay, got it. Well, that's super fascinating. Somewhat scary at the same time. So, what's next for your fund? Like, what are your priorities for this year?
So we are getting to the final close of our second fund, which will be a 200 million fund, and we're getting close to that. Already 10 companies in portfolio, so looking for the next 15 one that we are going to add to this fund. And then I mean many projects of new funds. Of course, the sector is maturing, so at some point we'll have to think about a growth fund. What you mentioned about states that are now let's say, owning the risk and stakes of quantum. So meaning there will probably also be some opportunities in some, let's say, more regionalized or national funds. Because at some point there will be some sovereignty issues as well. And as the technologies mature, I think there will even be room for some more focused funds. So typically quantum for health, quantum for finance, and then specializing or focusing on specific application for specific sectors.
How do you handle the part mentally of like, yeah, you've been doing that for 10 years and now in 18 months, apparently everyone's gonna call you a genius. Like, how do you handle that part of like waiting for 10 years before getting your reward?
I think, yeah, first we've already had quite a lot of reward because so we started 3 in an office and we are now a team of 10. So growing steadily, growing the asset under management as well. So I mean more people who are confident in what we are doing. The companies are growing as well. So going from companies that were a few people and now some companies have more than 300 employees and are in the tens of millions of revenue. So and it's not the end game. I will be relieved when I've returned some money from my fund one to my first investors. Then I will start calling this success. Before that, it's not success, but there are some nice rewarding steps in between.
Last question for you. There was the big AI moment with ChatGPT, right? That was reuniting just a team of business genius and technical genius, Ilya Sutskever, Sam Altman, then the full team, Greg Brockman, for example. How could we recreate that moment in the quantum space of things?
Huh. I think there are several companies that are candidates to have this ChatGPT moment in quantum. Could come from one of the large company. IBM is pretty much in the lead in that sector, and has been for the last 10 years. Google has shown some very interesting things. Now there are also some startups that are very close to showing what we call quantum advantage. So meaning they can solve a problem better with quantum than with classical. So it can come, and quite frankly, yeah, we've invested in 35 companies. I think it can come from software company, hardware companies, startups, large companies, but and now, let's say they will converge. It will not be just one company achieving one very big success. I think like probably 5 or 10 companies in a time lapse of probably several months will be able to achieve some of this.
There you go. So that was Olivier Tonneau and Charles Cormier for